Welcome to part two. This is just the last history, so you can go ahead, if you have not already, go ahead and take out your pen and paper because is where we begin to start taking notes. So we're going to go ahead and with this PowerPoint presentation. A lot of these key points will be on your exam, so you will hear me elaborate and repeat things twice because it is crucial for you to take on the exam. So, start off, what are eyelash extensions? Eyelash extensions are semi-permanent eyelashes that replicate the natural eyelash. So, when someone says, I want my minks done, but what are minks? That's the answer for it. They're eyelash extensions. They're semi-permanent lashes that replicate the natural eyelash. Eyelash extensions may also consist of silk, mink, or synthetic fibers. That's very important. Eyelash consistence may consist of silk, mink, or synthetic fibers. Um, and they range in thickness, length, curl pattern, and color. And as we go along through the course, you'll see exactly what I mean by how they vary. You also already have some lash trays with you that are made in fans, different fibers, and different curl patterns. But prior to ending out with the lash course, you'll be able to identify exactly how everything looks. And you'll also be able to determine a lash set. And the quick thing to mention as well that will be on your exam, and also you have to know as a lash set, there are between 80 and 120 eyelashes per eyelid. I'll say it again. There are between 80 and 120 eyelashes per eyelid. There are also 3 layers of lashes per eyelid. I'll say it one more time. There are also 3 layers of lashes per eyelid. That's a big fact because you'll as we go on further, you'll see how to make those sets look fuller because it's not just 10 lashes per eyelid. It's more than that. So we'll go ahead and touch bases to that a little further on. Let's talk about your job as a lash tech. So, your job is to carefully choose a lash that will match the shape of your natural lash line and also determine if your lashes are thick and healthy enough for the service of your client, which is very important. Your job, I'll just narrow it down for you. Your job as a lash tech is to make sure that the lashes that you have can be provided with your client. And also, if they can't be provided with your client, we're going to go ahead and touch bases on how you can tell them um, what may be a better lash service for them. So normally, the service takes up to 2 hours and 30 minutes to complete. Some shorter and some longer, depending on your experience and your desired technique. So depending on if you're just starting out, it may take you way longer, which is okay. My first set, it took me about 4 hours to do, and when we get to a few slides down on, I'm going to tell you exactly how it was doing my first set, just so you won't feel scared when you go ahead and start practicing or get that friend or close family member to practice on. Some shorter, some longer, depending on your experience and desired technique. So, depending on the desired style from the customer, this look can last anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks with a bi weekly fill in. Very important, very important. This is just in general as well. This is just the standard time. 4 to 6 weeks they should be on, and they should definitely get a fill in bi weekly, which means every 2 weeks. It is normal for 1 to 2 lashes to fall out a day as lashes grow out with proper care. Now, if your client comes to you and say, "Girl, I have 5 lashes come off within one day. I woke up and half my eyes gone," that's a problem. But if 2 out of 80 to 120 come out, that's perfectly fine. It's not even noticeable. Okay, so here we have different lash curls, length, and thickness. So as you can see, we start with eyelash curls. You see it ranges from J, B, C, 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 D, L. Those are just curl patterns. They're in, and I believe that the curls are defined by the letters. So you see J kind of looks like a J. You see how the L looks like an L. So that's how they determine those curls. You see thickness. You can see on the screen how it ranges. The thickness is in width, of course. They're all determined in millimeters. So it goes from 0.55 millimeters in width to 0.30 millimeters in width. And we have lengths at the bottom. You can see it's going from smaller to long. 0.8 millimeters in length all the way up to 17. Now it does go up to 17 millimeters. You can have 25 millimeter lashes, 30 millimeter lashes. I think they stop at 30, but this just goes to show how long it can go up to. Now, most common lash techs tend to stick with one or more lash curls. Now, I use the bounce between the two method, right? So, if I have a B curl, for instance, um, as a lash tech, it's always good to bounce between the two, which is C and CC. So I have B curl, C curl, and CC curl. Again, I'll repeat it again. This is not necessary for your exam, but this is just a helpful hint to use when you don't know what to do or you don't know where to start out. I always use the bounce between the two method with everything, and you will always hear me say that throughout the course. So I bounce between the two. So as a lash tech, you want to have a set look, you want to have a set style, you want to have a desired set, meaning that you don't want to be all over the place. You want what you have as lash tech to make it important for you to stick out. So that's why I bounce between the two with everything. And also in health recommendations as well, as I go over this, it'll tell you why it's important to remember the bounce between the two method. So moving on to thickness. This is very important. I tell everybody that take this course, um, your job as a lash tech is to make sure that your client receives the style they want while properly giving them the service. Meaning that it has to come out not only looking nice, but it has to be healthy for their lashes. For instance, if a lash client comes in and they have 0.5 millimeter natural lashes, and if they're asking for something really thick, such as a 0.30 millimeter thickness in lashes, they will not be able to get that. Why? Because it is extremely too heavy for their natural eyelash. Now, if you ever come across a situation where you see that the client has thin lashes and they want a full set on your page and they are not able to get it, you simply say your natural lashes are not healthy enough for this set because the millimeter in thickness is too wide. That's the professional way of saying without saying like, girl, you can't get that. We always want to keep it professional. We always want to cover our own ends. We always want to explain ourselves in the best way possible so that the customer and the client can be happy and serviced professionally. So again, I always bounce between the two. Here's where it comes in again. If she has 0.5 millimeter natural lashes and I'm getting ready to put extensions on her, I will not go over a 10 millimeter thickness. I'm bouncing between the two. Anything over 10 millimeter thickness is putting her natural eyelashes at risk, and that is something that we want to refrain from doing. Moving on to the length. The length doesn't matter. Um, I do have a balance between the two per set. So, for example, if I'm getting a classic set, if I'm doing a classic set, I'll bounce between 10 and 13. If I'm doing a volume set, I'll bounce between, 14 and 16, etc., etc. And like I said, as a lash tech for you and for me, it may be different. Our sets may look different, which is definitely okay. But I definitely bounce between the two just for my own sake. So I would never have to switch up, or if they want a certain set, I know exactly which millimeters I use for length. So thickness varies on the customer's desire and lash weight, like I said. So the heavier the lash thickness, the more pressure applied to the customer's natural lash, which is something that we want to avoid. We never want our customers to come back with complaining about anything. We always want to tell them everything up front, and we always want to make sure that they're satisfied so we can build that clientele so they can come back to us. So the lash length varies depending on the customer's desire. The higher the millimeter, the longer the lash is. Also, the wider the millimeter, the wider the lash is. And if that confuses you, just look at the picture. Look at the thickness. You can see it's getting from zero point 0.5 to 0.30 millimeter. You see the width of the lash extension changes. Whereas in length, the zero point 0.8 versus the 0.17, the width and millimeter is the same, but the millimeter and the length is different. So, on to the lash box. Now, given in your set, you do have a lash box. Now, below in your lash box, depending on the type of lashes you have, you should have a lash extension box, and each box which should say C 15 millimeter 0.07. That's to sum all it up in the picture is right here. Say if your box says C curl or it says C 15 millimeter and then it says another millimeter. This is letting you know, hey, what kind of curl do I have? I have a C curl. What kind of thickness do I have? Hey, it's 15 millimeters in thickness. How long is it? Maybe it's 8 millimeters short, or maybe it's 17 millimeters wide. That's how you can determine your lash box. That is also important. A lash box will always be set by millimeter, curl, and lash thickness. I'll say it again. A lash box will always be set by millimeter, curl, and lash thickness. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go next. And we will touch bases on this in the next part of our video. We're going to go over the lash care maintenance. We're going to go over the task of the application, and also you're going to see some videos of how you do everything. So in this video, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you to go ahead and, if you have not already, go ahead and get your lash supplies out. Go ahead and get your mannequin head set out, because from here on out, each slide is going to be something that we're practicing on, hands-on practice. So go ahead and get all that out. We're going to go ahead and move on to part 3 of the course, which will be covering the lash care maintenance and so on and so forth. And we'll go ahead and get situated with the rest of everything that's needed for your exam.